Let's continue with the country sessions. Sweden is the next country session. Sweden is a pioneer in financial innovation, and not only in the Nordics, but also in Europe. The presenters are Jenny Berthling from Invest Stockholm, Edin Erkocevic from Trade and Invest Commissioner of Sweden and Turkey, and Peter Ericson from Consul General of Sweden, and Louise Grabo from Swedish Fintech Association.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the Sweden country panel at the IFW Online 2020. I'm Peter Ericson, the Consul General of Sweden in Istanbul, and look forward to this panel with our Swedish participants. We have long established ourselves as a country where innovation is the norm, and it's home to one of the largest and best known tech ecosystems in Europe. At the same time, Turkey has a big potential to grow in the fintech world, mainly thanks to its innovative banking and payments sector. And as Team Sweden, we're very open to enhance collaboration between the two countries and looking forward to foster new connections during this Istanbul Fintech Week. I hand over to Edin Erkocevic, who is head of the Business Sweden office in Istanbul. Please, Edin.
Thank you, Peter. Sweden has, due to progressive political reforms, a vibrant startup scene, and a dynamic venture capital ecosystem, risen as one of the leading fintech nations in Europe and the world. Swedish fintech companies have a track record of solving many of the challenges that banks in Turkey are facing. And there is an appetite and place for Swedish fintech in the global market as well. We know that our culture is a great test bed for all types of solutions, and proven market success in Sweden and the Nordics has shown to be a great launchpad for global expansion. Business Sweden supports with on-the-ground connections and tapping into our existing networks. This has helped many fintech companies successfully launch and expand in new markets. And here in Turkey, we are present with a team based in Istanbul, ready to support the Turkish-Swedish fintech business. We are happy to have with us today Louise Grabo from Swedish Fintech Association and Jenny Berthling from Invest Stockholm to tell us more about the Swedish fintech landscape.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm going to show a presentation, so I will start sharing my screen. Yes, my name is Louise and I am the Secretary General of the Swedish Fintech Association. And we are an association, an industry association that gather the fintech community to create impact. We have 73 member companies from all of Sweden, but mostly in Stockholm, within the different fields of fintech. So all from payments to lending, to investment, to crowdfunding, crypto, and so on. And our main mission is to create a dialogue with the government and authorities in Sweden, because we want to speak with one voice to get an even better fintech ecosystem here in Sweden. And just to show you, I would like to show you our members. In Sweden, there are around 400 fintech companies, and we collect 73 of them. So that's not everyone, but a few of them. And as you can see, we are mostly into payments and a lot into lending. And I think that summarizes the fintech ecosystem in Sweden in general, which is mostly look like that. And we have members that are small startups that created this year or the last year, but we also have like the big players that are a part of the association. And I think that's one of our strengths. The Swedish success story. Stockholm are known as the highest number of unicorns per capita after Silicon Valley. We have, of course, Spotify, Klarna, iSettle, and other companies within the tech industry that makes a lot of impact. And we are one of the major fintech hubs in Europe. And I would say the major one in the Nordics and the Baltics. And we raise a lot of venture capital here in Sweden, and fintech are one of the most growing parts of raising capital. But why do we have this success story in Sweden? I would say that our consumers, our early adopters, they appreciate new technologies. And since we are long gone in the digitalization in general in Sweden, we also could see that in the financial sector. We also have the ET bubble, it's called, during the 90s, where we had a lot of IT companies that actually went a bit overrated, and then they went bankrupt. But because of that failure, these entrepreneurs went and created new companies. And these companies we see today, such as Spotify, Klarna, iSettle, and a lot of these others. So this early digitalization and the tech-driven entrepreneurs have made a lot of success in Sweden. And then I will talk a bit more about open banking, which is one of the main reasons to the Swedish Fintech Association was founded. We were founded in 2017, and that was because of the new, at that time, regulatory system in the EU called the PSD2. And I will talk about that a bit later. And we also have the cashless society, as were mentioned before. The low use of cash in Sweden has created much more innovation within the financial system in Sweden. And the PSD2 is an EU regulation from 2015. And it opens up the account information from the consumer to third-party providers. So as a third-party provider, like a fintech startup, you can use the data if the consumers want to create new services and new products within the financial industry. And this is a very important regulation that has made much more innovation and competition within the financial industry. And when we look at our members, we can see that many of them was founded after 2015. So this regulation has made it, it made it like a lot easier to start a fintech company, and made a regulatory rule work, so it can work like regulatory as well. And actually, for just a few weeks ago, the EU Commission launched a new digital finance package in the EU, and they are also saying that they will do an evaluation of the PSD2 regulation during 2023, and it might after that be more of an open banking regulation, which will also include more kind of information, just not account information. And this will open up for even more information in the financial sector, but also when it comes to insurance and other parts of the financial wealth. And I think it would be very, very good for the consumers, but also for the fintech landscape in the EU and in Sweden. So a bit about the cashless society. As we can see here, the use of cash is going down rapidly. And during 2019, I think it went more even. Yeah, it went down even more. And it's because of many things, but it's because of digitalization. The consumers and also the shops are not accepting cash in the same manner as before. As we can see here on the picture, it's a normal view in Sweden. You can go into a shop or a coffee shop and they say that they won't take cash. So this trend has made the central bank in Sweden to react, and they started EKrona project a few years ago. And this EKrona project is a project where the central bank are taking a look and researching around how should the Swedish central bank operate and what role should they have in the financial system in Sweden. And in Sweden, we also have very good, you can say, infrastructure around digital payment. We have something called BankID, which makes it easy to use, to have a digital identity. And that makes it easier for many payment services, for other fintech companies to do the digitalization, the identity for the consumer. And this have made an innovation called Swish, that actually, I think it's around 7 million people in Sweden using Swish. So that's a lot of people. And they use it as a payment method. And even the shops use Swish and the consumers. And it's growing a lot. So this is also a part where the cash is not needed and much more. This far, the central bank has started a test pilot where they have taken some help from the company Accenture to create this digital EKrona. But at this time, it's not like a decision made if they're going to be an EKrona. There's needed a political decision from the Swedish parliament first. And I think the timeline for this EKrona will be in 2027. So it's pretty far away. And as an association, we work a lot with the public fintech initiatives. And in Sweden, we have an innovation center under the Swedish FSA, so the regulatory body here in Sweden. And they have this so they can have a better dialogue with the fintech companies to understand new business models, and also to work as a dialogue partners with the fintech companies to better know them and to better regulate them. This spring, we also got the news that the Bank of International Settlements was supposed to set up an innovation hub here in Stockholm in Sweden. And the Swedish Central Bank is somehow doing a cooperation with BIS around this. And I think the setup will be next year or the year after, but we don't know that much yet. We also have a public initiative from the Ministry of Finance. They're doing a research, or the Swedish Growth Analysis are doing a research on how to create more innovation within the financial industry in Sweden, where Swedish Fintech Association are we're a partner in the expert group of this initiative. And I would also like to say a few words about fintech after COVID-19. We realized this spring that the fintech community, of course, will be affected by the COVID-19 crisis. So we did a consultation with our member companies in May this year, and we realized that 93% of our member companies were affected by the pandemic. But we also saw that many of these companies actually saw some positive effects, 63%. And that was because of, the fintech companies are digitalized, so they are scalable. They had seen a bigger demand for digital financial services, and also a bigger interest in your financial wealth. So the crisis isn't just a crisis for the Swedish fintech company, it's also a possibility. But as For us as an industry association, we have tried to work a lot with the government, and we see that the governmental support that we've had here in Sweden, they are mostly targeting like the bigger companies and more of like the old industry. So we think that's a bit sad that it's not reaching out to the startup community as well as the old industry. And just at last, I will say a few words about another fintech initiative we have here in Sweden and in Stockholm. It's the Stockholm Fintech community, the Stockholm Fintech Week. And this is a knowledge sharing and a networking event that's taking place in Stockholm for 2 years, and next year will be the 3rd year. Its 2nd edition, which took place in February 2020, gathered over 750 participants. We had 140 speakers and hosted 8 different tracks over the course of 5 days. So it was, one of the largest fintech gatherings in the Nordics this year. So, I think that's a bit of what I would like to say. And now I would like to hand over to Jenny.
Hi guys, thank you, Louise, and thank you, Peter and Edin, for your great introductions. So let me share my screen here as well. So let's get it started. So hope you can see it. Okay, great. So my name is Jenny Berthling, and I represent Invest Stockholm, and I'm actually head of the ICT, one of the sectors that we work proactively with. So the areas ICT spans all the way from different verticals, all the way from gaming and SaaS, AI, and to fintech. Well, actually, fintech, used to be probably a hype for us, for a couple of years ago, and we started with that for probably, I would say, since 2017. But nowadays, I would say, just during last year, 2019, fintech accounts for almost 60% of all investment, tech investment to Stockholm. So it's here to stay, I would say. So just to give a very short introduction, who we are, what we do. And Invest Stockholm is not only the economic development agency for the city of Stockholm and owned by the city of Stockholm, but also the official investment promotion agency for the Great Stockholm region. Actually, through a partnership of 56 municipalities across 8 counties and in East Middle Sweden. So the focus of this partnership is really to attract foreign direct investments and international establishment and also talents to our region. Very shortly, to give you a couple words about the Stockholm region we work for, and just some of the characteristics. So 3.8 million people, which is one of the fast-growing regions in Europe. I would say the economic engine of Sweden, or probably Scandinavia, we like to say so. And also according to the latest rankings on global startup ecosystem, Stockholm ranks number 10 in the world. And with a population of 10 million people, Sweden actually only second to Silicon Valley, creating and producing unicorns per capita. This has been said also by the previous speakers mentioned, but we're so proud we like to mention it again. And so one of the most popular, I would say, jobs in Stockholm is actually being a programmer. But having said that, we are in great need of more programmers. So you guys hanging out, you're welcome to Stockholm, take up a job, you'll be very easily employed. So why do you mention all this, really? Instead of just dive right into the topic of the day, which is about the Stockholm fintech scene or fintech landscape. Because I think, as being said by the previous speakers, and it's also my very personal strong belief, that without established and solid, I would say, ecosystem or the tech ecosystem, that probably we wouldn't have seen, the fintech ecosystem that we see today. What do we see? The tech ecosystem have been evolved. That last decades really laid a strong fundament and ground for the cross-industry, emerging technology, emerging verticals that we'll be seeing in the future, and we're seeing now. Fintech is one of them. So this is one way for us to illustrate the current Stockholm tech ecosystem. I would say this is a snapshot, definitely not. Everything is evolving. And as one of the ecosystem builders, it's our job to be out there, to be spotting what's missing, what's the gap we should fill as ecosystem builders, together with all the other wonderful partners. And here is just some of the elements that we capture that are needed for building up an ecosystem. This is not the answer for everything. It's just a way for us to visualize it. So for each vertical, we work with different partners, with Louise and with just the previous speakers and the Swedish Fintech Association, also with the community-based organization. Within FinTech, we work with the FinTech. It's community-driven and the Swedish hub for FinTech, and including all other subcategories such as RegTech, Legal Tech, and InsurTech. And they have about 150 members so far. And as you see, it's quite a young organization, still evolving and expanding. So, as I said, nothing is a coincidence in this case for Sweden to take a leading position within the domain of FinTech. So just give you some idea about the roadmap and about how it has evolved during the history. I'm not going to do that because this is basically the milestones. So during the past 360 years, from all the way from 1661, being the first one, Stockholm's Banco is the former, or the current, the current central bank once upon a time, and to 67, just to pick some of the milestones, being one of the world first ATMs established in Sweden, and also mentioned by Louise, and the first bank ID established 2003, which made it possible, for a lot of new ideas, a lot of new creation, new innovation to be possible, because of that. And also Swish is also one of the proof of how to collaborate, even between the incumbents, industry players come together to solve something, to make it possible to make peer-to-peer payment transaction. Just to give you a bit of flavor of that. So, dive into the FinTech playground in Sweden. And as been said previously, and Stockholm has a very leading position in that space. As being said here or being illustrated here, that 80% of about 400 companies, we've scrutinized probably 400 companies-ish, during this process. And we've come to a conclusion according our taxonomy classification definitions. And this is a very, I would say, kind of controversial subject as well, because there's no commonly defined classification within FinTech domain yet. So according to our own definition, we have classified about 380-ish companies in Sweden, and we classify them into different categories that you see here, that we divide to 80 different category subdomains, all the way from wealth cash management, trading exchange, to RegTech, Legal Tech. And you'll see the division of different company, number of companies within different domains as well. As Reese just mentioned, payment transfer, wealth and cash management are definitely the two of the dominating subcategories that really, emphasize what will be the main players of our ecosystem. But having said that, we do see that InsurTech is one of the subcategories really coming up, and this also means opportunity for you. If you're currently operating in other categories, I would say that's something probably you should look into, tap into this ecosystem, still that we're missing some of the players here. So just about 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we launched Stockholm FinTech Guide for 2020, just to give you a flavor about what it's about. So then you can see whether if you coming from background being a startup or you probably talent, you want to tap into that space, and or you have already proven idea, track record in Turkey, in other market, but you probably want to venture out to the Nordics, or why not using Sweden and Stockholm as a gateway and to build a global company. And that's what we have proven to be. And Stockholm or Sweden has the measures, has the same, all the conditions available for you to take that big step forward to on the global level. So as investors, and you see, and what's buzzing here. So this guy is supposed to really give you some piece of information, some valuable piece of information, and some kind of guide or orientation, whatever, everybody gets a piece of something from this, hopefully. Just to get some highlights from the Stockholm Fintech Guide from this year, and which spans 18 months. So we cover 2018 when it comes to figures, when it comes to statistics, trends, and and the changes to the fintech scene in Stockholm, and so also the first 2 quarters of 2020. Just to give you some very brief ideas about what it's about when it comes to investment. And also mentioned by Louise and by the previous speakers, in Sweden and Stockholm, especially Stockholm, has a very well developed, I would say, capital market. And so I think 2019 was an all-time high, I would say. We never had that good figures. Well, last year, and this year looking good as well. So put that in context of Sweden and Nordics as a whole, you can see that all investments going to fintech, to Stockholm-based, Stockholm region-based company, they probably account for all the investment to Sweden within fintech, and account for 70–80% investment to the Nordics. And based on the latest ranking or latest research from Startup Heatmap, another external organization, and based on their calculation and their research on the 3 years base average, and Stockholm ranks number 3 after London and Berlin in terms of investment volumes. So, and EKrona becomes Europe's most valuable private-owned fintech startup, about a valuation of $10 billion. And so it just happened 1 month ago. So by the time we published, was just about 2 quarters ago, probably in mid, 2020. So it was only 5.5 billion. So just within, a course of a couple of months, it's raised the bar again. And this is just some of the top fintech investments, just like to just give you a flavor of Tink. It's a API. I would say it's bank, digital service enable banks and financial institutions to build new financial services by using a single PSD2 compliant platform, Tink. And Bink, it's within the lending space. It's an online lending platform built to the, just a couple of years ago. I think it was established from 2017. EKrona, well-known name, and Mitigram also is a global online platform funding, hedging the risk of trading. And Dream, also a startup, really, I think it's really nice, if you want to coach you how to save and how to invest and to see or to realize your dreams. So very nice app, so try them out. And Hedvig, and is one of the insurance company, pretty new as well. And what I like to mention about them, they really incorporate the sense of sustainability, and they actually donate, some of their, some of their money and some of their, it's a subscription-based insurance services. So they donate some of the subscriptions and to some of the organizations for good cause, Childhood Village, for instance. So this is one thing that we see a lot of trends of. How can you incorporate SDG, this kind of objectives into your current business? I would say really this is one of the things we can really be sustainable, but still making profit and on the same profit, platform and using the business model. And this, I think, something we like to see more of, and we promote more of. Something we like to co-create with you together. Well, my personal favorite of this year's FinTech guide is about the stories, because all down to end, by the end of the day, it's all about people. It's about connecting people, right? So this year, we present a number of stories, a number of curated stories of the people, not the bigger companies. I won't say small people either, but they are not small. They are so special in their senses. And we have, we have Ola from Stockholm, who used his paternity leave to start a company with the insurtech and with the insurance, to revolutionize insurance. We have Frank from Amsterdam, move company, to Stockholm to realize his dream with the cryptocurrency domain. And we have Zaila from Moscow, and come all the way and studied in Stockholm, and stayed behind there and want to explore more into the fintech space. So all those stories, every single one of them is so unique. And this is the one thing we like to give them some care, give some highlights, and make their story heard. So having said that, so let's get connected. And you have the opportunity to download our FinTech guide, and just by scanning the code here. And we love to get connected. Let's see how we can help you tap into your ecosystem and to help you to be the next unicorn. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny. And thanks to all the panelists. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to this Sweden panel at this FinTech week. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.